People have been coming to the Pines for over 130 years to restore their bodies, minds, and spirits, and that's partly what we're here to celebrate the history of that. Our organization is a nonprofit that works to protect and save this property as well as share it with other people, especially those who are really in need of rest, because you probably know life these days moves at a pretty hectic pace, and being able to take a break in this beautiful surroundings is what our mission is to share with others. So we're grateful that you came. We're also really honored to have so many members of the Cusack family come. It means a lot to us that you all are here, and because your family really started the legacy of this property, not only just in terms of the care of the beauty of it, but also in the helping people to be able to find rest and healing. And so we really are honored that you all are here. And we just wanted to just talk a little bit about and acknowledge some people and organizations that got us to this place today of getting the oldest surviving building on the property, the lodge, onto the National Register of Historic Places. And we really had a lot of help and support. First, we want to recognize the ownership, the Pines Ranch Partnership, Dick and Audrey Sturmer and Dean Rusk, who have owned this property for several decades and have not only taken care of it, but also all of the guests that have come through. And I know some of you have been here before and have experienced the hospitality of Pines Ranch. And the Pines Ranch Partnership has been a great partner with us in trying to preserve the history and share. They were willing to take a chance on a startup nonprofit who has big dreams that are still chasing a bank account to reach those dreams. But we are really grateful for their support in providing funds, matching funds for the grant that we received, as well as some expertise and background about some of the things that we weren't really sure about. And then we also appreciate History Colorado. We have two representatives here today, Jason O'Brien and Jenny Dykeman. Right, I'm going to get it right. They represent, the History Colorado is the preservation organization throughout the state. And they provided a grant for us to be able to get the nomination paperwork and research done. They also were great cheerleaders. They've come out. A lot of times we would not have gotten to this place, not only without the grant, but without the support of great preservation professionals that they represent. There's more that helped us, but they are the only ones that were lucky enough to be able to come out here. And then we have a group of very dedicated supporters in the area, as well as in the state of Colorado and actually throughout the country, who provide donated funds to have helped this project, as well as other projects that we have here at the ranch. We also have a lot of volunteers from many places who pour their time and their blood, sweat, and tears here at times to support not only the care of the property, but the people that come here. So I'm gonna turn it over to our writer in residence, Jim Haley, who is a award-winning author of historical fiction, biography, and Western history. And I couldn't think of a better person as a storyteller to share the amazing details about this, not only this property, but this building. So Jim, over to you.
No pressure.
Thank you, Kyle. Now, confession, I've never been comfortable with the sound of my voice amplified. And back in my religious days, I would teach Sunday school, I would host Bible studies, I'd do stuff, but always avoided this. So I guess this close. If I suddenly launch into a medley of show tunes, you'll know I've been pleasantly surprised. Now, when Kyle and I first began talking about whether a writer in residency was sort of appropriate, I mean, I've written a lot of history. What do? I start looking up the history of dude ranches and guest ranches. There's a difference. And what did I discover? But all the sources agree that guest ranching officially begins in the Dakotas in 1884. Now, that was the time when Teddy Roosevelt, you probably all know that story, his wife and his mother died on the same day, 2 days after his daughter was born. He fell apart, went to the Dakotas, and totally renewed himself So even at the very beginning of the guest ranch business, it was somebody who needed rest and retreat. And it really worked for him. But then I found out, wait a minute, if that's 1884, and I start reading up on the Pines Ranch, Dr. Reginald Cusack of Ireland was already in those aspen trees over there on Short Creek at his first ranching operation with his brothers, actually doing as little as possible. But they had begun already welcoming people. This is 2 years before the official start of dude ranching. So what is up with that? But see what an undiscovered jewel the Pines is. It sort of snuck by all the historians, and it had its beginnings back before there were guest ranches. Why? How did that happen? What's going on here? Well, I can think of two really important historical contexts that helped that happen. The first is it began as a health resort. In fact, when General Palmer began Colorado Springs in 1871, now there was a Colorado Springs before that, but the one that you have now, 1871, he had a business partner, a Dr. Bell, who was British, and they began advertising their mineral springs and all the healthful benefits and stuff like that. So that's really when the English migration began. And here in Custer County, it reached its height. There were over 400 subjects of the British Crown living here. So it was quite an ongoing thing. Now, a lot of that owes to, and this is a second big context, in England, the law is what they call primogeniture. The eldest son inherits everything. This is the engine behind every Bronte novel. Oh, Cousin Gerald has inherited the estate. He hates us. He'll throw us out. Oh, I wish I were a man. Without primogeniture, there would have been no Pride and Prejudice, no Sense and Sensibility. Well, all those second sons, fourth, fifth, sixth sons, and cousins had to go somewhere because they weren't inheriting the manor. So the family would give them an income to stay away. A lot of them went to India to hunt and fish and drink and party. A lot of them went to East Africa. This is how Kenya got started. And all these second sons went to Kenya to hunt and fish and drink and party. Now, if you were not in the best of health, you looked at the western United States for the dry air and all these doctors who were moving here, right? So this is where you would come to hunt and fish and drink and party and cough, right? Well, that was the beginning of that. The English colony that began here, in fact, the Wet Mountain Valley, and I was astonished. I mean, I'm still on the learning curve, right? And when I discovered that the Wet Mountain Valley back then was called the Valley of the Second Sons. By the way, when they began, their operation really got rolling early in the 20th century. The rates here, a single room to stay by yourself, was $4 a night, which was something in 1920. That is the equivalent of $58 today. Why do I need to know this stuff? What does it do for me? Well, the fact is that everything you believe about everything in the world is important. What's right, what's wrong, what's moral, what's immoral, how should you live, vote, worship, raise your children, everything you believe. Filters like coffee through what you ever learned about history and how other people have solved the same problems and how other people have dealt with these very similar fact situations. So how do we turn this property to the benefit of others? Now, Tracy's going to come along in a minute and tell you about the rest and retreat programs. I'm just going to very quickly and parenthetically say that I've been here for 3 of them, and I have seen nurses come in here absolutely warm to a frazzle. They get to hike and recreate and have a massage and do some yoga, and they leave here ready to get back to it. It's just the greatest thing in the world.